Dude, Luke, the printer's still busted. What the fuck, man?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 7 of the Topless Robot Podcast. I'm Ryan.
Yeah, it's your boy Brooks.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Hi, I'm Tyler.
And we are here to talk about things.
And stuff.
And things.
But mostly
things.
I knew you were gonna go for it.
So, it's been a week.
A week it has been.
7 days, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in certain cultures. As in all of them.
Most.
Except, well, most. I suppose there are some who don't.
There was that brief stint that France tried to establish the 10-day week. But we're not that kind of podcast, so...
I can't tell if you're being serious right now or not.
I am, actually.
Really? That's a thing?
It's a historical thing.
That sounds like a little bit of torture right there.
Well, it was like...
as long as you've got a 4-day weekend.
It was like a revolutionary France kind of like, you know, yes, we're going to establish the working man's blah, blah, blah. And I think it ended up sucking or something. I don't know. I remember that from high school. So
I would expect that it would end up sucking.
It would end up sucking because you wouldn't get the 4-day weekend. You'd work 8 days.
Right.
8 days a week.
8 days a week.
I
So
wonder-
this is a historical song. That's what that song's about.
I wonder what...
Is it my Wonder Ball?
Wonder, wow.
What's my Wonder Ball?
And now I have completely lost...
Sorry.
No, I wonder what the 2 extra days were called.
La Day.
Sure.
La Day.
La Day. La Day and La Day de.
Oufi de Day.
I like how
Feed the
day's
day?
the only only
right.
thing not being translated here.
What is day in French?
I don't know. I got Spanish.
I mean, dia, yeah.
You know, I
sounded
I
white
forgot.
as hell.
I'm very. Yeah, you need to work on your accents.
Dia.
Dia de los Muertos.
Oh my God.
Quesadilla.
My
Casa
grandma.
Grande.
Taco. Grande. My grandma is the whitest person you'll ever meet, and it's fucking hilarious. Like seeing her
Your
try
grandma
to
is
do.
Tilda Swinton.
She is.
She is. Well, that's
Very
objectively the whitest person in human history. But no, like going to Mexican food restaurants with my grandma is the funniest thing in the world.
Your grandma is powder?
She is.
Powdered milk. Man.
No.
What the fuck?
Sorry, I was reaching there.
Yeah, that was a bit.
Well, long story short, she tried to order a chicken enchilada at a Mexican food restaurant, and verbatim, I would like the pola enchilada.
Wow.
And we all just looked at her, and immediately it was wow. It was like a
I have to go
family
to the
dinner,
bathroom,
and we
Grandma,
all
and
fucking
then
started.
we're
We
coming back.
died. We were laughing our asses off.
I love how I love how the Owen Wilson wow is a thing that can't happen without everyone else
You
doing it.
have to say
Yeah,
it. It's like yawning,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
Wow.
And that's why we've been trapped in this room for 30 days.
little did
Yeah.
you know we actually have a full week of audio here. We just never left.
This is pared down from previous audio clips.
We have now been doing this for a month.
Happy month of first. You see, now I sound like a desperate high school girlfriend and or boyfriend.
This is the anniversary of the day that we saw each other in the hallway that one time well before we met.
But we didn't start talking for another 6 weeks because I was embarrassed because I thought you were dating someone else who was in said band class. But yeah, then I guess started to fall apart there.
Hard to make
Actually,
a card
I
out
guess
of that.
Yeah.
we've technically been recording the podcast for a month and a week. But we are now, because today is October 28th, we launched relaunched Topless Robot on August 27th. So we have now, Topless Robot has been live for a month.
Congratulations, listeners.
I wish I
Yeah.
had one of those like noise makers and
You're welcome, everybody.
I've got my fez. We can kind of pretend it's a party hat.
Oh, no, Brooks is going to do his impromptu grab a flat... Oh, God!
Jesus Christ!
I'm sorry, everybody.
It sounded
This
way
was
better
your-
in my head.
This is your weekly headphone warning.
Yeah. So over the past week, I picked up Starlink. For
Space Zelda.
I knew basically nothing about it. Aside from what I had seen at E3, I was like, oh, so Ubisoft is putting Star Fox in this Starlink game. So like on the Switch only, Starlink is a multi-platform game, but on the Switch only, you get Star Fox and you can play as Star Fox. And so I got the starter kit for it because it's also one of those like, what was the Spyro company, the Landers.
Skylanders?
Skylanders, thank you. So it's kind of like that, except it doesn't use NFC.
How does it work?
So
Magic, duh.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not I'm not quite sure how it works on the other systems. I assume that it's something that plugs into the USB or accessory plug on the controller. But with the Switch, it has a controller base that the Joy-Cons slide into, and it's got this stem that goes up the center that you slide your pilot in, and then you slide the ship on top of the pilot. And so it's got these connectors that they're physical connectors.
Interesting.
So the controller is powered by the Joy-Cons because the Joy-Cons it connects to those, and it lights up the thruster on the ship and everything like that.
That's
super
really cool.
Yeah, like it's a fairly fancy setup, and apparently you don't need the accessories in order to play the game. But of course, I had to get my R-Wing, and I had to get my Fox McCloud.
You have to, and those figures actually look like super high quality.
You know,
They are
I
very
heard that
cool.
Fox McCain was a POW, and he's a real maverick.
No. No. But the R-Wing has two plugs on either wing that you can hot swap weapons onto it. So you can buy like weapon packs and things like that and pop them on into the slots on the wings and change the weapons that your ship has. So it's kind of neat, but it's also one of those like, oh shit, collector's trap, kind of things.
How much was it? So did it come with the ship, or did you have to buy
It came with so the starter pack, the Switch starter pack, comes with two pilots, one of them being Fox and one of them being what I assume is the actual game's intended primary protagonist.
Oh, Starlink.
Yes. Sure.
It's actually Star Zelda.
And it comes with the R-Wing, and it comes with two weapons. And it was, I've been enjoying it so far. The controls are very solid.
I heard the game's actually pretty solid. Like
It's very No Man's Sky.
that's what I heard. Yeah.
but with content.
kind of
Yeah, but with a
Hey.
storyline.
that I could see loving that because I actually did like the No Man's Sky, the most recent update, but it still is one of those things where I just started losing it because
I just remember being
there was
angry
nothing dragging me
about
around.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
I think everyone remembers being angry about No Man's Sky.
So when No Man's Sky first came out, I had pre-ordered it and I played it, and I even in that launch state, I ended up getting a good 60 hours of gameplay out of it. I was enjoying the time that I spent with it. I ignored the fact that there were a lot of things that they didn't deliver on or whatever. Like it was still at the end of the
cool.
day, while these things were missing, the question I have to ask myself is, did I enjoy my time with it regardless? And yeah, I did. I enjoyed my time in that game.
Did you have those expectations going in, though?
I mean, kinda,
Okay.
but it boils down to that at the end of the day, despite what was promised, did I enjoy myself?
It's very relaxing.
Totally.
My one of my roommates, he moved out like a couple months ago, but he got it, and like watching him play was just like we'd put on different music and we just kind of like we're chilling out.
It's a totally zen.
Chilling out. You know, I really like the main character in that game. You know, No Man's Guy.
Boom!
And,
Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Which guy are you going to be kissing, Ryan?
No Man's Guy.
I really have my pick here among you two. You know what? I'm just gonna. I've changed. No. You behave yourself.
Oh, beehive.
Oh no. Good Lord.
I've
God, both of you. Going back to every douchebag post first
what's wrong,
Austin Powers
baby?
movie.
This podcast makes me randy.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
It just takes me back to a very long, beautiful stranger.
Beautiful ranger.
That just takes me back to a long time ago. I got a rare opportunity to see the Scottish oi band Oi Polloi at a local alternative bookstore in Gainesville, Florida. And it was shortly after.
Is alternative bookstore like a code name for like adult arcade? Or
No. Alternative
We sell
bookstore.
alternative books.
Giant it was the Civic Media Center.
Okay.
And it was, like a not-for-profit kind of thing. Like
a cool bookstore.
Right.
Okay.
And they would host shows regularly in Gainesville, Florida. And this had to have been after the second Austin Powers movie came out. And people who attended this show only wanted to get the band to say, "I ate a baby." And I'm like, this is a band from Scotland, a like legendary oi band from Scotland that you're probably never going to get to see again. And what matters to you is getting a legitimate Scottish person to say, "I ate a baby."
The question is...
I mean, there are so many cooler Scottish things you could goad Scottish people into doing, like...
Get out of my swamp! Don't care!
This was before Shrek.
I know.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Groundskeeper Willie, yeah.
Any number of poets, like Robert Browning, Scots what hail on Wallace Blade. Scots when Bruce is often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Or you could do Mrs. Doubtfire.
That was beautiful.
That was actually very impressive.
I know lots of poetry, guys. I used to compete, and I
used to compete in poetry.
I used to compete in recitation and performance.
Resuscitation.
He took poetry slam to a new level.
No. I hate poetry slams and open mics like that because it's like, and allow me to put on my pretentious goggles yet again here, because like,
actually,
I like being critical when it comes to not like critical for constructive criticism when it comes to like, oh hey, will you read this poem that I wrote? And I'm like, well, I liked it, and if you want my feedback, then I'll give it to you. But like at these things, it's just like. It's like a bunch of people getting up and saying stuff and everyone clapping. And it's like, I just want to be like, this is terrible.
God damn it. What was the fucking So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Oh, yeah.
I keep wanting to say Stella, but it's not Stella.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Stella. She took my cat, like my life and my cat. I can't remember any of the fucking actual things, but yeah.
I think
I had a great idea for a YouTube series, by the way, just filming people saying things like that they only slightly remember,
and then putting it side by side with the actual thing, and then do like a percent rating, like how
close?
Crazy.
Wouldn't it be fucking great?
All right, this is going to be a new feature on Topless Robot. We're going to have to do that.
Oh man,
my buddy Carter, he's only seen Lord of the Rings once, and this is where the idea came from. Actually, I've been thinking about this for a while, but he had seen the Lord of the Rings movies one time right when they came out. So he's like, okay, so there's this one like wizard guy, right? And he's like trying to explain what the freaking movies were, and it was just like so wrong, but technically right, and it was great.
That's amazing. Yeah,
we can call it Winston Churchill. Because you're wincing.
Oh, wince.
I was like, I thought you just said straight up Winston
you
Churchill.
said Winston Churchill. That's
or Wincent Price.
Wincent Price. That'd be pretty good.
Just gonna start filling awkward gaps with the poetry that I remember having to compete with.
I'm still trying to figure out how you were competing with his poetry.
So here's how the competition went. I would memorize a piece. I would. It's not like costumes or anything like that. So basically, I used to compete in a scholastic competition.
An elastic competition
between a bunch of Christian schools, because I was at the time I was in high school. I went to a private Christian school, and so we'd compete with a bunch of other Christian schools at a competition at a college in California called the it was called Fine Arts. We'd call it Fine Arts for short, but it was the West Coast Baptist College Fine Arts Competition. And so you had a lot of different categories, and I competed in a couple of different things. But with poetry, you would essentially, you were being marked on how well you memorize said poem. Can you speak with inflection? Can you like properly represent the poem and how you've taken it? And of course, poise and blah, blah, blah. And so like, I remember the one year, and I was not allowed to pick my poems. I was given to them by my administrator.
So then it was essentially your job to deconstruct and interpret, and then put inflection where necessary, in order to give it the agency that it was originally written with.
Yes.
So what I'm basically hearing is it was pitch perfect, but instead of a cappella, it was poetry,
but by myself
and by yourself.
And that was fun. I was pretty good at it. I placed a couple of times. I had to do. They always gave me the most depressing shit, like the sad. Like, and I was like a happy person. I still am a happy person. But they always gave me like The Raven, and
I would love.
That would actually be.
I would absolutely love to do an interpretation of The Raven. I would legitimately enjoy the hell out of that.
Ah, okay.
That would be cool.
I still remember some of it, but
I want to see you do an intro.
I had to do.
The Raven.
I did that one year. I did Edgar Allan Poe's The Bells. I did Ghost Like by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Wait, no, that wasn't St. Vincent Millay. That was something else. Charles Benet, or I forget. That's how I got into poetry, because like I'm a poetry dork. But I like the classic stuff. I'm not a huge modern poet guy.
My mom was a big poetry dork and tried to get me into poetry, and still to this day, the only thing that stuck with me was Robert Frost.
Robert Frost is fantastic. I like his work a lot. I like Longfellow a lot too. Longfellow is cool because he has like epic poems, like Ram of the Ancient Mariner is like my favorite epic poem.
I love Ram of the Ancient Mariner.
I want to get a piece on my arm that is because Gustave Doré did the illustrations for Rime of the Ancient Mariner back in the day, and he's more famously known for illustrating the Bible. You'd recognize his style, but there's a particular picture he did in the story, because the story. Are you familiar with the story?
No.
Okay.
For Rime of the Ancient Mariner?
Yeah, no,
You've never.
All right. Okay.
This is totally foreign to me.
I will give a brief and wonderful description of the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. This guy's going to a wedding on a coastal town, and him and his two buddies, and he gets stopped and grabbed by this like homeless-looking guy. But back in the day, he was just some old dude. He's supposed to be a transient of some sort, and he tells him his story, the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is essentially this guy is on a ship. He's on a crew of a ship, and they're sailing, and everything's going fine. And in his hubris, he decides to shoot an albatross, which is very bad luck. Killing an albatross is like super bad luck. And so he kills the albatross, and then he fucks with God, and so death and
That escalated quickly.
well, yeah, I mean, it's poetry. He essentially he is condemned to life.
Condemned to life or condemned for life?
Condemned to life, meaning
So
that he cannot die.
Okay, so he is immortal.
Meanwhile, everyone else on the crew dies because death, the physical representation of death, because they roll up on this ghost ship, and Death and his mate, Life and Death, are gambling for the lives of the crew. And there's this great...
So wait, life and death is a single person, or you're saying his mate is life?
His mate is a life in death.
Oh, life in death.
Yeah,
Okay.
so unending horror, essentially.
Okay.
And so Death wins the crew, minus the mariner, and he's forced to live, and there's like ice, and he has to wear this albatross around his neck, and he's essentially, now think about what you did, and repents of his evilness and learns to respect life and in all forms, and is condemned to tell his story every so often for eternity. And he wanders the earth, and he's forced to tell his story over and over and over again. There's an Iron Maiden song.
The Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
It's 13 minutes. It's one of my jukebox killers.
You've heard me sing it with Will at Rock Band Mondays.
Oh, really?
You have. You always leave.
I take that opportunity to go out and vape.
You're like, yeah, it's 13 minutes long song. I can just, I'll be out.
Look, the curse of the karaoke host or rock band host is that, most of these songs are 3 to 5 minutes long. So when someone puts in a long song, you take that opportunity to poop. Because you're never going to get to poop again for the rest of the night. Because usually it's only going to be the one long song.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame you.
It's a good song.
It's a great song.
And the poem is fantastic, and the illustrations are really cool. And I really want to get that, get a tattoo of not the actual print, but a really good representation of said print of Death and his mate, Life and Death, gambling for the crew, because it's this really beautiful and terrifying, like black hooded skeleton dude with dice, and then this crazy, like, I think she's supposed to be like blonde, but this crazy haired, wild-eyed woman, and they're just like gambling on this deck, and I super want that.
Interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
so that both of you kind of just transcended into this new level of nerd that I have not.
Oh, man.
Really, like those are paths that I have not traveled.
To be fair, that's like the only poem I know, and it's because of Iron Maiden. So.
Oh, you see that's what helped me get into Iron Maiden was their
So it goes both ways.
Their secret love of literature. Well, it's not really secret.
Secret,
but you're not gonna listen to Brave New World by Maiden and instantly think about the book.
I do.
I mean, I do because I've read the book and I love it. But like when I first heard it, that's how actually I read the book because of that song.
Same here.
And actually, a friend of mine, we had this cooking thing on Mondays called Rack and Brew. It's every Monday for 4 years, blah, blah, blah. I had this friend of mine who had a copy of that book in his bathroom. And over the course of 1 year, I read
every time you
book.
pooped?
Every time I pooped, I would read the book, and I read the whole book in 1 year on the toilet. And, but I digress. Poetry is rad, and I will talk poetry all the time because, like, the conception of poetry is that it's not so much now. It's not like it's like it wasn't a wimpy thing, And it's not like a bleeding heart. Look how sensitive I am. I like poetry kind of thing.
Well, I think now more than ever, poetry faces the same hurdles that any written word does, in that people don't have the time or attention span to devote to sitting down and reading a book or anything like that. And with poetry, there's an additional barrier to entry of the interpretation. People don't like to think.
What?
But and I say that kind of in a loose generalization. Obviously, it's not true. But I think some of that stuff, especially considering the eras in which a lot of popular poetry were written, make it difficult to interpret because a lot of it is written of the time. And so, I mean, some phrases are common that you would be looking at and trying to identify literally and interpret literally, when really it means this completely different thing because it was a common phrase of the age. And I've heard that, for example, I've heard that Chaucer is a real pain to get through. Is really, really difficult to read because that's Old English. It
is a pain in the butt. Hang on, I'm looking up as you say this. I'm looking up a poem because hang on, I can't remember who wrote it.
But Chaucer is also legendary. You know, like
I feel like it's that with like a lot of literature too, though. Like the quintessential old dead white men books that you have to read to get into like even.
Yes, but
there
are a number of, I mean, like books are, if you go far enough back, yes,
that's
books interpretation, that's a thing. But I mean, you know, like in order to get into like some of my required reading for honors English freshman year of high school was Death Be Not Proud, Raisin in the Sun.
Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so.
You sounded like you should be like the priests in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. One shall count to three.
Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so.
Oh my God! Now we've got another series where we have to read old poetry in the style of Monty Python.
Yes.
Thou shalt count to.
Thou shalt not count to two unless thou proceedeth on to three. And there was much celebration and breakfast cereal.
Well, here's one for you. This is an excerpt.
An excerpt?
An excerpt.
And oft, like an exit.
And oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils.
Nerd!
Well done. That was I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth. Well, I mean, like, it's going back to the language barrier of poetry. I got into poetry because I had to read it anyways in school, and I was like, well, I mean, there's some really cool stuff here, and I scaled those hurdles because it was just like, this is all I had to do. But like, there's some really kick-ass like punk rock kind of shit out there from like the 1800s, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just another way of expressing emotion, and I mean, punk is supposed to be visceral and passionate and rooted in that emotion.
Yeah,
while it is frequently raging against an oppressive force
or a machine.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Who in it now?
Annoyed in stereo.
God.
Wow, wow. Wow, wow.
Did you see the video? Did you see? Now that I'm thinking about it, it all ties in together so well.
Oh no.
there's a video of someone took Bulls on Parade and changed all the wow wows to Owen Wilson going
Wow.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Every once in a while, some of those things come through, and it just breaks my brain so bad that I can't appropriately express myself because I'm laughing too hard thinking about it. Oh my god!
And this was a dramatic interpretation of Ryan's poem.
I think we might have found the break Ryan button. So we've got the break Brooks button.
Oh, I have a whole board of buttons.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, so do I. So do I.
Oh man.
Oh god.
So boring poetry.
Wow.
So like there's a poem. There's a phrase that I actually had to look up. I should say not a phrase, but a thing that said called so to give the lie. When you say to give the lie back, that means to call bullshit.
Okay.
That means to call bullshit. And so there's a poem by Sir Walter Raleigh called The Lie. And he's basically calling the world out because he's just like, the world is full of bullshit. So if you say, here's an excerpt. Sorry, I had it and then I scrolled.
I'm curious where that phrase came from. Whether it's, okay, so I'm receiving a lie, so to give the lie is to return.
I think that's what that means.
It's that would make sense. I can't really think of another way that you would interpret that unless to give had a different connotation.
Right. Because I mean, if you were to just hear that phrase alone, like to give the lie, I would actually assume that it would be to lie.
You're lying.
Not to call someone out on a lie.
To give had to have had something like a different meaning, like to. I feel like there'd be a different connotation for to give, kind of like.
Well, I mean, like used in context here. For example, give them all the lie. For thou must give the lie. Give everyone the lie. But like this is just like back when I started getting into music a little more as far as performing goes. I'd read this old poetry and stuff like that, and be like, you know what, that's really badass. Like I wish I want to be able to write something that sounds as kick-ass as that, and with fancy flowery language that's like, but basically just saying that everything is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like the first stanza of The Lie by Sir Walter Raleigh is, "Go, soul, the body's guest, upon a thankless errand, fear not to touch the best. The truth shall be thy warrant. Go, since I needs must die, and give the world the lie." And it's just basically the world's bullshit, and here's why. And then he goes on to talk about the courts. This next one is very relevant. Tell potentates they live, acting by others' action, not loved unless they give, not strong but a faction. If potentates reply, give potentates the lie.
I'll take potables.
Tell men of high condition that manage the estate, their purpose is ambition, their practice only hate, and if they once reply, give them all the lie.
Interesting.
Yeah, like
so. Call them out if they defend themselves. Call them on their bullshit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was my journey into punk rock, was through poetry. It was just like, oh damn, this is kind of cool, and it's just it's a weird hobby. I used to compose, but not so much anymore. That's my TED Talk for today. The wonders of poetry. You'll catch my latest interview on the Diane Rehm Show next Tuesday at 9. Just the Diane Rehm Show.
When you say it like this, gave the lie, it makes a little bit more sense from a gave like a giveaway. Like it's a giveaway that's a lie. If that kind of makes a little bit more sense when you put it that way.
Yeah, where it's an obvious lie.
Yeah, it gave the lie away almost.
Okay. Interesting. Huh.
Like, like I wasn't at that party, or
Yeah.
according to this calendar,
Or I did not have sexual relations with this woman.
and give him the lie.
No, here.
I did not have sex with that woman.
Yeah. On a completely different note, let's shift gears a little bit. We're getting too serious, but all of that is super fascinating and makes me want to dive into poetry more if I had more time.
It makes me want to think about smart things again.
Oh God, exercise my brain. Why
Well,
the
I
fuck
always-
would I do that?
I always tell people that want to get into poetry, there are long poems and there are short poems, and the best way
That's not
to do it.
untrue.
The best way to do it is to get like an anthology of a bunch of great poems. You don't have to sift through someone's like 14-page poem about how they love someone, because like love poetry is kind of boring sometimes. It's good for descriptive language, and you can use it to pick up chicks at the library.
And all you have to remember is that all haikus end with "It's snowing on Mount Fuji."
It's snowing on Mount Fuji. I used to write
Refrigerator.
I used to write, and this is the last thing I will say about poetry.
I know it's not 5 syllables, but the last part of every single haiku is "It's snowing on Mount Fuji."
It's snowing on Mount Fuji. Well, I
I
mean,
always thought they were always refrigerator.
the secret badass
Actually,
thing
that's
about
what it
haiku is that if you were to commit seppuku, to write
Sudoku?
to write the ritual suicide of of feudal Japan that is so demonstrated in movies and stuff with the knife in the belly, blah blah blah. To write a poem, to write a haiku in your blood as you die, is like a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, haikus are badass. I used to write. I had a poetry format that I haven't written in a long time, but I used to do 4 haikus on the same subject, a quatrain of haikus, and they're always fun, just fun little. Study hall, I was writing like one study hall. I managed to write 95 haikus.
Good Lord.
2-hour study hall. So
I had a similar thing like that in high school. Me and my buddy were
Sorry,
in the
3
middle
hours.
of our chemistry class, and instead of paying attention, we filled out an entire 2-page sheet with Monty Python quotes.
Well done.
Well
done.
It was time well spent, and that's all I have to say about that.
wow.
Wow.
So enough
It's a
about
reflex.
poetry. Let's go back to fart.
So,
Art jokes are
fart
funny.
jokes.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It is, I think 2 episodes ago, I said Riverdale wasn't written for us. I don't think Sabrina will have been written for us either, because it seemed like it was going to be that kind of take. Like Riverdale is like Dawson's Creek, got a little gothic, or not even gothic. Dawson's Creek mixed with some murder mystery kind of thing.
Dawson's
They
Topic.
made fucking Jughead a pretty boy, like all this weird shit.
Jughead's supposed to be this food guzzling,
Right.
crack up, weird hat, long nose guy.
Like it just seems weird, and
I've not
so
tried to watch
I-
because it looks just super awkward.
It's
I was
the
angry.
new Melrose Place. It's fucking it's whatever. So I, especially considering the same people are involved in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I immediately wrote it off. When I learned that, I was like, okay, Riverdale has already established itself as
More like-
totally not for us. I don't think Sabrina is going to be for us either. Boy, am I eating those fucking words, because that is an amazing show.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the shilling adventures of Sabrina. And
Yeah.
I've yet to watch a full episode, but I've
haven't
seen
seen
clips. I was going to do that this week, but I got busy with my poetry.
I got busy
So-
with Red Dead Redemption.
I have already posted one article about it, and that one is so people who were fans of the Melissa Joan Hart series are going to be disappointed. They're going to be very disappointed.
Is it going to be the same kind of feeling with like with Breaking Bad when everyone saw, oh, it's Bryan Cranston, the funny dad from Malcolm in the Middle, and then they start watching and it's just
it's
a
the
horrible
dentist from that Seinfeld
I am the one
episode.
who knocks.
I am the one who knocks, and you're like, this isn't Malcolm in the Middle at all. Is that basically how this feeling is going to be for people who like Melissa Joan Hart?
Not necessarily. I think it's going to be more amplified than that because that's going off of a
Just
particular
the
actor's history in media. And this is Sabrina. So for a majority of people, myself included, when you think of Sabrina, you think of the Melissa Joan Hart series. For you, probably the Archie comics, Brooks.
For me, when I think of Sabrina, I think of Audrey Hepburn, but we're not.
Okay.
We're not gonna go. We're not gonna go down that road today.
So I think most people, when they see a Sabrina, series is being made, they assume it's going to be a reboot of that Melissa Joan Hart sitcom, and this is anything but that.
Interesting.
It is a legitimate horror series. And in the article that I posted, that one reference that they make is going to be the key as to whether you're going to enjoy this new series or not. The reference that they make is in episode 5 or 6, Sabrina's boyfriend Harvey is startled by a demon who is currently possessing their friend Susie, or currently possessing their friend Susie's uncle. And he is startled while wearing a crop top shirt with the number 10 on it while he's got big fat headphones on lying in bed. And immediately while I was watching that, I said, they did not just do that. Because visually, it is Johnny Depp in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh. You see, you said Harvey, and I was thinking either Jimmy Stewart or, Harvey, Harvey the Wonder Hamster.
Sabrina's boyfriend has always been a mortal named Harvey Kinkle. Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
Oh, there's so many bad names in this. There's so many bad... Well, okay, there aren't so many bad names in this, but there are other bad names in this. There are 3 evil witches... evil witches, whatever. There are 3 witches who both run the anti-Sabrina and pro-Sabrina kind of thing.
Lawful evil.
But one of them...
Chaotic. Good.
One of them is named Dorcas.
I mean, that is a biblical name.
Is it Dorcas is a biblical name?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Dorcas was a seamstress.
Okay, fair enough. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here watching Sabrina, and every time she goes, Dorcas, I'm like, is she insulting her? Oh, shit, no, it's her name.
Fun fact for everyone out there. So I went to Bible college for a couple of years, and I was going to be a pastor a long, long time ago. And I have since left that road, but I've retained all of the knowledge and all of the fun facts. It's like...
all right, Dorcas.
I mean, I could go on and on and on about it.
But honestly, so the fact that they do the visual parallel to A Nightmare on Elm
that's
Street
so cool.
should
really
give you an idea of kind of the tone of this series. If they're going to make a reference to A Nightmare on Elm Street, then you know what they've got in mind.
Frederick Kroeger.
Exactly, Frederick Kroeger.
Do they make a Frederick Kroeger?
No. I've got burps and hiccups happening all... Oh, God.
We're currently watching Ryan literally implode right now. He just like...
It was... All of these bodily functions were trying to happen at once.
He shat. He just started... his head turned around and started just throwing up all over. He's speaking in tongues.
Be gone,
foul demon!
Listen, man, we're not in that age of we're not in that dispensation anymore. The Lord does not use speaking in tongues as a way to demonstrate his abilities anymore. Okay,
He just uses Twitter and emojis like the rest of us.
That's right. Smiley face, eggplant, splash.
Smiley face, eggplant, peach, splash. Uh-huh. Dorcas, God. But I'm excited. So Netflix bought 2 seasons. First season is all out. It's 10 episodes long. Each episode is, that 44-minute format.
66.6 minutes.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Dude, if you play it backwards, it
really kind
tells you to buy Ovaltine.
It's interesting.
be sure to drink your Ovaltine. That's it. A crummy commercial. Yeah, I've seen that movie a lot.
But
I knew that joke would fall well right there.
Yeah.
Oh God. But they really. So I plan on writing a larger post that kind of covers all this, but the way that it all plays out and the way that it's written, the undertones seem to be that like Sabrina is half witch, half mortal. Her mother was not a witch and her father was like the high priest. And she tends to be the voice of reason or like an atheist essentially in this world where her family has been historically devout to the Church of Dark, and she's the one who is questioning the old ways. And it may have always been this way, but why? Why this? Why that? And
I just want to know what retailer carries robes of that magnitude and quality. What retailer has those in stock?
You got it on Etsy.
Yeah, but then you're throwing consistency out the window. But I digress.
But look for a post very soon on toplessrobot.com. I was very pleasantly surprised by this show. It was really well done. And yeah, both of you need to watch it.
I plan on doing it this evening, so I can have an opinion on it.
It is outstanding.
Next week.
It is very outstanding.
But you know what I watched this week?
What did you watch?
Are you familiar, either of you, with the Mexican legend and wrestling superstar known as El Santo?
Oh.
No.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go Nacho Libre.
Nacho. Okay, so for some context, El Santo was like the guy that made like the masked luchador thing a thing.
Really?
50 years in the ring. He made 52 movies.
Holy crap. So he's kind of like the main guy in who
It's The Rock. You can go Dwayne Johnson.
No. In Coco, who the main character is kind of idolizing.
Oh yeah,
He's
that is
the
El Santo.
iconic character that's been in all of the films that everyone looks up to.
Yeah, I love your movies. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that is El Santo.
Really?
That is El Santo. Yeah. So he made a bunch of movies. Okay, and also he's stills have been memed from El Santo, but he makes these movies. He's like the American Superman. So he's Superman, but a real person, because he had a super long running comic, and these movies are kind of based on that. And so in these movies, he's fighting monsters and stuff. And I watched. There's this
define monsters and stuff. Are we talking like King Ghidorah, or are we?
So the title of the first movie that I watched of his was El Santo y Blue Demon contra los monstruos. So Santo and Blue Demon versus the monsters, and he fights Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster.
I need to see this.
I have it. I actually have it with me right now.
Oh man.
Frankenstein's monster, or to translate into Spanish, it's Frankenstein. And vampire women. Although in a separate movie he fights exclusively vampire women.
All right.
As it should be.
It's
That one.
I'm not sure
that
about
one
the
needs,
implications there.
That one needs a separate rating.
there is a sadomasochist hunchbacked little person who wants to experiment on live human beings. Same movie. This is all in the same movie.
How did they give enough time to all of these characters?
Well, they actually
Seems to me like there'd be
reused a
some-
lot of the same shots.
And I imagine that some of these monsters are easier to dispatch.
Oh,
than
and a
others.
cyclops.
Oh,
No, actually, they just kind of. Everyone seems to get the drop on Blue Demon, and he's always like, it's his job to get beat up. And
Blue Demon is a luchador as well.
Once friend, then lifelong rival of El Santo.
Okay.
El Santo is the man in the silver mask, and he took his mask off once, a week before he died. He dedicated
Mysterioso.
nobody knew what his real name was except for a select group of people.
Wow.
Forever. Yeah, there is a huge statue in his hometown. I'm talking like Washington Monument, well, maybe a little smaller than that, but that grand scale.
Holy crap.
He is a hero. And you gotta, I'm sure there are clips like on YouTube of El Santo, but I had a very hard time tracking these down. Thankfully, the Internet Archive had a couple. And let's see, I have El Santo and Blue Demon versus the monsters, the mummies of Guadalajara, I think. Guadalajara.
Guadalajara.
I think that one features another lucha guy in it, a third guy known as I forget his name, but he's like a million mask.
Huh.
Every scene,
Different mask.
a different mask and a different outfit. So much entertainment, and it has something for everyone. It has monsters, it's got wrestling, it's got wrestlers fighting monsters, strange dance sequences in the middle
but
of
is there
things.
romance?
There is romance.
It's a love story.
Of course.
Amazing,
Corazon.
amazing special effects, a psychotronic soundtrack. And when I say amazing, I'm being facetious here.
So, like, what
they say
year was
corazon?
this made?
50s through the 80s.
Wow.
A lot of movies.
Wow.
Wow. It's like a reflex at this
you have
point. Like
to,
when the
you have
doctor like hits your knee.
And
you
the
kick a
best
little
part
bit.
is like he's got like his wrestling ring outfit, which he's got this badass cape and his mask and these like white tights. He wears his like day to day more often than not, and it's a turtleneck and slacks and
But
this mask
with a mask.
and this mask, and he just wrestles, and he's good too as far as like wrestling goes. Like to kayfabe to last that long is just
No kidding.
it is so it was
No kidding.
But this movie was just so like, what am I watching? Oh my god! It's just oh my god! And where did he get a flamethrower from? And it's just like stuff like that. And
have you ever seen Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter?
I have.
No.
And there's a luchador that he calls upon later in the film, and that's all that this is bringing to my mind. Like this El Santo and the Blue
El
Demon
Santo.
versus the monsters.
Enmascarado de plata.
It makes me wonder if like that influence was,
Probably. I mean, that's Nacho Libre.
Yeah,
got its thing from.
Ramses
Really?
is definitely
Ramses is number one.
Ramses.
His thighs are number one.
Encarnacion. Encarnacion.
Ate some grass.
I use my hand
To wipe away my tears. I kiss you now to break my vow. But no way, Jose. If you want to, we can break our vows together. Encarnacion.
Oh my God.
Encarnacion.
Save me, I am trapped with two crazy people.
I'll start singing Roger Clyde and the Peacemakers if you want.
Jasmine would like that a lot. I'm a Roger Klein fan, I suppose, but
He's the Bruce Springsteen of Arizona.
Yes, he is.
Which, I mean, I like Bruce Springsteen a little more. For those of you who cannot see that I'm gesturing to the very large button,
Which is literally everyone except for two of us.
You never know. There could be some psychic people.
The blinds just close really.
I spent this cost me $20
the pin?
Jesus. Why?
because it is a pin handed out by a radio station from 1978.
Holy fuck.
That's cool.
That's how much I like Bruce Springsteen, guys. Okay? I started a band because I couldn't see Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, we covered it in the last podcast.
And then I'm just gonna explode.
We understand.
I'm gonna explode into Born to Run lyrics, and then they'll have to replace me. This model's broken. We gotta bring it up.
Bring out the Brooks V2.
But El Santo is the Bruce Springsteen of Mexican wrestling.
That's really, really interesting. Yeah, I never knew that.
It's great. It's Halloween time
So
coming
he's
up.
the reason for the luchador mask.
I don't know if he is like the reason, but he's the guy that made it popular.
It's
like,
interesting how like crazy popular
Lucha's been going on for
luchador.
more than a century.
Luchador.
Wow, really?
More than a century.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it was just like guys going to town, guys in towns wrestling each other, some with masks, some with not.
I thought you were going to say guys going
Going to town on each other.
I mean, you could.
I've seen that movie.
Going to town on each other. You have?
But
I haven't looked through your personal collection.
From what I understand, from what I understand, El Santo was part of like when wrestling stopped being regional and was like a nationalized thing. It was like, okay, everyone's, we all like wrestling. We're all going to watch the same wrestling.
So like in the 50s, it was this collective realization of like, oh, you watch wrestlers too? Well, I watch wrestlers. Why don't we all watch wrestlers?
Let's do this, Nat. Let's do this. We'll film it and have them fight monsters too.
So, and I don't know if you have the answer to this question, but is lucha, is it the same as like WWE, where, I'm sorry to our listeners out there to break this to you, this is the first time that you've ever heard about this, but where the and the results of the matches are predetermined?
I don't know. I do know that they were more dedicated to kayfabe than some of our wrestlers nowish.
Sure.
Like, they don't hang out in the off hours if they're feuding.
Yeah.
If you're feuding with somebody, from my understanding, of course, you don't talk to them, you don't hang out with them, you certainly don't send them a fucking Christmas card. It's like you try to make it as real as possible as far as like your rivalry with somebody.
Sure.
So hence Blue Demon and El Santo's rivalry, they just didn't stop talking to each other.
Wrestling is something I never got into.
Really?
Not even a little.
I recently got into wrestling.
There have been moments in my life where I got into wrestling. When I was very young, I had the pillow buddies, the wrestling buddies of like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and shit like that.
Wow, he's old.
But like I didn't.
And how?
Yep.
I knew Stretch Armstrong when he was in college.
But I don't really remember watching wrestling too much back then. Like I watched it a little bit. The only time when I was actually following a storyline was at the turn of the century. Or nearing the turn of the century. Specifically when
He's talking about the 1800s.
Are you like reading a letter? Is this like a Ken Burns documentary now?
He had to break the wax seal. And
specifically when Degeneration X was a thing. Triple H was married Vince McMahon's daughter, Stephanie McMahon.
Vince McMahon.
And so that whole drama that played out, because it was like she's willing, she's not willing, whatever, and it all. So like the villain to the establishment, so Vince McMahon being the establishment, the villain to the establishment was Triple H.
The rage to his machine. Got it.
Actually,
settle down.
This whole storyline you're talking about. So
and now Triple H runs NXT.
Yeah.
and is in charge of bringing the up and comers into WWE proper. Like NXT is now where they workshop all the up and coming wrestlers, and then they bring them up into the main ring and the big show. But yeah.
Oh, the wrestler, the Big Show.
Not that Big Show.
They bring them into the Big Show.
There's actually
Yeah, it's the Big Show.
God, I fucking love shitty wrestling walk-on themes.
I never got into that. Like,
You
at
know,
all.
you know,
There's
Kiss
so
had
many
real
great
fighting.
characters. Specifically, my favorite wrestler of all time is
Doink.
Is literally anyone that Mick Foley has been.
Oh, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and Mankind.
All of it. All of it.
Mick Foley's hilarious.
Mick Foley is
He's
brilliant.
objectively
My
amazing,
roommate's
but-
dad, my landlord, looks exactly like Mick Foley.
That's great.
It's cool, and like I just want him to come over to the house wearing like sweatpants and a red flannel.
Has he ever-
in his autobiography, he talks about old matches like I don't even like
the hardcore stuff?
Yeah, the hardcore stuff, like where being power bombed into thumbtacks was a thing, and he got his ear ripped off by the ropes.
Yeah.
Because he was being held in the ropes, and it like ended up severing part of his ear. Like,
Holy shit.
yeah. So
And he's a really good dude in real life.
he seems like it. He seems like one of those just like, I'd love to just hang out and have a couple of beers with this guy.
I like to get down to brass tacks with Mick Foley. Or Mitchard to his friends.
But as much as wrestling is fake, and I air quote, it is also not fake, because they are pushing their bodies. Yes, they're performers.
I have the perfect video for you to watch.
But fuck,
I
dude.
feel like I'm being. I like walked into a.
You're getting powerbombed by wrestling.
And there are
I feel like I walked into a timeshare presentation here, but for wrestling.
If you look at our,
Like, if you look, and
we
you're
have
gonna have a
affordable-
chart and just point it like over here.
there
we
are
have affordable-
some moments that you just don't realize were like such huge things. Like, so kayfabe didn't break until fuck, what's his name?
Undertaker.
No, kayfabe didn't break until I think it was Bret the Hitman Hart. So like kayfabe wasn't in the common knowledge of the wrestling watching. You know, like no one knew what that was until I think it was, and people are going to get mad at me for not remembering specifically, and I'm probably wildly inaccurate.
How dare you?
Ryan misremembers wrestling.
They actually, there's an episode of Radiolab about this. About, if I remember correctly, it was Bret the Hitman Hart, and a real feud, you know, that actually like went down. And
Oh yeah. There's the Montreal Screwjob.
yes, the Montreal Screwjob, that's what it is. And holy shit, like we've got some educating that I think that you will find fascinating. Like, I'm not a regular wrestling watcher,
And I just started
but
like
some
3
of these
months ago.
stories are fucking incredible.
There's
All right,
there's
I'll
one,
give it a shot.
There's
Give it a
one
shot.
video that I'm gonna recommend to you and anyone listening that's watching. It is a video by Max Landis, the director's son, called "Wrestling Isn't Wrestling," and he talks about the stuff that, you know. Well, you know that it's fake, right? And he actually takes one wrestler's storyline, breaks it down, and he's gender swapped everyone, which makes it funny. And he breaks down why wrestling is cool. And he takes Triple H's story arc for, you know, spanning 2 decades, and he's just like, and it points out how ridiculous it can be sometimes, and how awesome wrestling is, and its function in culture and society. It's really interesting, and I think that you should watch it. Because that is what sparked what later has become now into this weird wrestling brush fire that I've gotten sucked into, where it's like, I have to know more. Like, I learned this week that Kiss had a wrestler.
Wow, really?
The
Really?
Kiss Demon. Yes.
Really?
It's not good. Spoiler alert. The Demon is not a great wrestler.
Or when WWF absorbed WCW.
Those are letters that I understand.
And ECW,
you understand that there was a time when there were two primary,
ones,
two most popular, WCW and WWF. WCW had Sting and had their own version of Steve Austin, who wasn't Steve Austin, whose name escapes me right now, a bald guy with a fucking goatee. I can't remember his name now. But they had their own stars, but they were always in the shadow of WWF. WWF has always been the wrestling organization.
the World Wildlife Foundation.
Exactly. Which is why we have WWE now. But when WWF absorbed WCW, Vince McMahon's son went behind his back to take control of WCW.
That was a good fight.
Bringing it into WWF. There's so many twisting arcs, and some of them are legitimate internal struggles, and some of them are all camera.
You know, Vince McMahon wrestled his son, in the ring.
This is the one
Vince
subject.
McMahon's dad created WWF and created wrestling, professional wrestling as we recognize it today.
Wrestling!
And Vince McMahon came on as a promoter under his dad, who owned the company back then, and turned it into the entertainment behemoth that it is now.
All right.
And now we have such legends like John Cena and...
John Cena's kind of great.
I love John Cena.
The Rock was also kind of great. I mean, a lot of really... Goddamn.
That's
if you smell what the rocket launcher is cooking.
Rock Cold Steve Austin.
Oh my God. Have you seen Santa's Sleigh with Goldberg? I think it's Goldberg.
Goldberg. That's the name that I was trying to remember.
He's
that
WCW's
bald guy.
Steve Austin.
There's a lot of bald guys in wrestling. There's a lot of guys with long hair in wrestling as well.
Or this would be directly prurient to your interests. Santa's Sleigh, with Goldberg. It was a really crappy slasher horror movie from mid-2000 that was about how Santa was actually in
I think I
prison.
did see this.
I've heard of this.
It was terrible. But there's a moment where he goes into he goes into...
I love shitty wrestler movies.
It's
like
so
Abraxas with Jesse the Mind Ventura.
What?
Well, he's Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah.
Then have you guys seen his TV show?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, so Jesse the Body Ventura.
Jesse, the governor, former governor of Minnesota, Ventura, is. There have been times when he's spoken as a politician where I've been like, you know what, he's not bad, and there have been times where I'm like, you know what, he's 2 steps removed from Alex Jones.
He had a show, a conspiracy theory show, where he addresses what the government is hiding from the people.
That was a good Alex Jones impression right there.
Referred to himself as Jesse the Mind Ventura.
Government's turning off frog gay.
No, it's like Area 51, JFK theory kind of stuff. It wasn't that bad.
Okay.
It was stuff that your granddad looks up at 8:30
and shares on Facebook with really big font, big caption.
So
normally Hillary laughing in the background.
What I'm hearing is Jesse the Mind Ventura talked about well-established fun conspiracies, whereas Alex Jones only operates in creating new conspiracies to fan the flames of fringe
and they're
far right.
They're not that good either.
No.
If I'm gonna
Sandy Hook
chemicals turning the frogs gay, that's not a good one.
If I could recommend to anyone out there who wants to cook up a conspiracy theory, read more science fiction. Read some good pulpy science fiction. from like Arthur C. Clarke or stuff you find in like Weird Tales.
PKD. Philip K. Dick.
We
love Philip K. Dick's.
I could take a whole episode and discuss Philip K. Dick's career because I worship the ground that writer walked on, with the exception of Blade Runner, which I'm not getting into right now.
We're going to have to get into it next week.
Yes, please.
Have you watched Electric Dreams, by the way?
I have snubbed my nose at it, but I've not watched it yet.
Okay.
No, I'm leery of anything with Philip K. Dick attached to it, just because it will never be what plays in my head. Mind movies, or as I was, or head movies, Kopfkino, as I was told by my Austrian friend. That's what that translates to.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, it's come to that time.
Oh, my favorite time.
It's the end of the podcast as we know it.
I feel fine.
Leonard Bernstein!
So as you may or may not know, we do have a phone number where you can call and leave us interesting messages. And if you have questions, we'll address them. If you have comments, we'll address them. I don't really care. Just leave us a message and we'll play it on the show and say whatever is necessary. Yeah, last episode's message was a flushing toilet.
It was.
I still think we need to put... I think that was actually a sign that we
need to put it up in bathrooms.
Up in bathrooms. Specifically at the grid. I feel like we'd get some fun ones from
our
the grid.
potty humor.
Potty. Womp womp.
Wow, wow.
This week,
Wompit Launcher.
we have a voicemail. You gentlemen ready?
Yes.
I'll gird my loins.
Hey, I bought some merch from you guys from an ad I saw on your webpage. I'm not impressed with the poor service I've received. These Corey in the House bootleg DVDs were not in Japanese as advertised. I think they were all in German or something. If I can't get my hands on the original Corey in the House Japanese anime in time for my nephew's birthday, I'm not going to win that Uncle of the Year award. There's going to be hell to pay, okay? I mean... Look, if we can't get this involved in 5 to 7 business days, I'm going to need some kind of compensation. I'm thinking Napster gift card so I can at least download the soundtrack for the party or something. And look, I know I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but it's his favorite anime, and I just know I'm going to win that 500 V-Bucks for Uncle of the Year if I surprise him with his favorite. So, yeah, I'm really counting on you guys. Please come through for me here. I know you guys are super reliable. Thank you so much.
I don't know who told you we were super reliable, but we'll do what we can to get you that Corey in the House anime.
Oh man,
I'm sorry, sir, that you've had that experience. We do pride ourselves on our excellence in both delivery and customer service. We will do the best that we can to rectify the situation as soon as possible. In addition to overnighting the Corey in the House anime to you as soon as possible, and in fact you should have a tracking number in your email as we speak. We are also going to include the Boy Meets World anime and an assortment of Topanga fanfic.
We will also be ceremonially sacrificing the customer service agent who so wronged you.
and of course, with every mismanaged order that we process, we also include a free copy of the C-SPAN 2 OVA series.
As well as the yet. God damn it.
Oh. So if you'd like to leave us a message on our voicemail, that number is 805-222-6287. That number again is 805-222-6287.
Coming to a bathroom near you.
222-6287.
We should get a jingle for that. We really should.
Absolutely, yeah. I guess.
Does it spell anything?
I don't think so. I picked it because it had 222 in it. So I'm like, all right, that's 3 fewer numbers that you need to remember.
It's 1/3 of the beast.
The number of the
beast. Does anyone have any rants this week?
have to pee hard enough to have a rant. Apparently, my rage is fueled by
I have
need to urinate.
I have a very very short rant.
I have a short one I can do after that as well. I just thought of it.
Well, you do yours first, because we'll end with mine.
Okay. My short rant has nothing to do with pop culture or media. It's about using your fucking turn signals. Use your goddamn turn signals. Use them. Fucking use them. Okay? Because, like, I don't know what's wrong with the people in this state, which has been redacted by the government. Unfortunately, I cannot say where I am. But there is no Arizona, no Painted Desert, no Sedona. But use your fucking turn signals, okay? Because, like, I have almost hit, like, 3 people, or I should say 3 people have almost collided with my vehicle because they decided to merge without... And it's always when I'm trying to go home from work, and if you don't use your turn signal, you're committing a hate crime against me.
I'd like to add an amendment. Not only use your turn signal, but not as a fucking afterthought. Not one of those, I'm halfway in the middle of the damn lane already, better turn my turn signal on. Oopsies.
If you're using your turn signal, you have to have it on for 100 feet before you turn.
Or Brooks will find you, and he will kill you.
I don't know about kill. I just more like stern talking to, or one of these just, or shaking my fist.
I'm glad that you said, I don't know about kill, because that leads very easily into my rant.
Oh.
Stop fucking killing people, you dumb assholes.
It's not that hard. I had to add that.
Go through life. Don't kill anyone.
Find more creative ways to express your rage, like through a poem.
And like raging against the machine.
Or find a hobby that doesn't involve harming people.
Or put stickers on your van.
Honestly, I'm not quite sure, because stickers seem to be a gateway drug to
people will break into your van and steal what they think is going to be a bass, but it's actually a bass because you went fishing.
Anyway.
Does it say, don't worry, I'm be happy?
Anyway, we are all just trying to figure out how to live. There's no rule set. I know a lot of people think that they got the manual when they were raised in one religion or another. No one has the rules to exist, and we are all struggling to figure out how to exist and get the life that we want, and just pursue the things that we care about, that we're happy about, and that makes us feel good. Don't kill the person who makes you feel bad.
Absolutely. And if you're feeling bad out there, if you cannot process your emotions in a healthy way, I recommend finding someone that will listen. If you're, talk to your friends, talk to your parents. If you can't talk to anyone, there are phone numbers out there that you can call if you're having a difficult time, because nobody needs to, I'm really fucking tired of checking the news and seeing what's been going down. We had those bombs, we had that synagogue this past week. Like, just fucking stop and get some help.
There's even an app now for therapists. You can talk to a therapist on an app where the freaking digital.
I don't think that these people would seek out therapy.
But the people who are on that edge, because there are some people out there that you...
Just remember, other people aren't villains. They're not trying to bring you down, and just everyone's trying to figure out life. No one has all the answers. Just fucking knock it off.
I think we can all
That's
agree
pretty
with
much.
that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on the topic.
Cut that shit out.
And on that morose note, I have been Ryan.
I may have been Brooks in a lifetime.
And I'm Tyler.
We'll see you next week.
Luke, it says I'm locked out of my account again.